Pat Horgan, our demonstrator for the June monthly guild meeting, is a valued member of the Limerick and District Chapter. Having been involved in wood turning since 2008, Pat is a highly skilled turner and an exceptional demonstrator. In this session, Pat will be showcasing the creation of a key holder with a loose change bowl. Enjoy the demonstration.
Well, look, thanks very much for having me back. So, for today, to start, I have to start with a little bit of history. So, about 5 or 6 years ago, I started making these. It's a holder for a bottle of wine, and this is shaped like the top of a bottle of wine, and here there's a cork. So, apparently there are some people who don't finish their bottles of wine, so then they can cork it and leave it until the next day or whatever. So I'll pass all these around so you can get to see them. Maybe if I hand them to you, then you can. So at the same time that I was making them, I was making the standard earring holders, you know, with the holes for the drop-down earrings. And also at that time, I was making these. It's a holder for rings and other pieces of jewellery. So then one day I started thinking, instead of making it for a wine bottle, I could put the stand at the back and put an earring holder at the back and put this at the front. So then I have a holder for earrings, rings and other pieces of jewellery. So then I came up with this guy. So I'll pass these two around as well. So then I was thinking, what else can I do with this? So then I came up with this one. And the idea here is just for holding your keys and your loose change. And then I got to thinking again, and I came up with this guy. This is just a modification on this one. So you have 5 hooks here for holding your keys, and you have the dish here for your loose change or whatever. And this is the one we're going to make today. But on all of these, the base is the same. And one more thing, on the one I make for the wine, that's finished with an oil, in case somebody spills water or wine on it, they can wipe it off. The others I finish with a wax. Okay, so we get started. So for the base, I need a piece around 150mm diameter and around 30 to 35mm thick. This is a bit too thick, but it was the only stock I had, so I need to waste a bit. So I can't, because I need the center of the top, or I can't put a hole there for a screw chuck, or I can't use a faceplate because of the off-center bowl. So the way I do it is straight off the bandsaw, I put it on the lathe, I jam it between the chuck and the tailstock. And then I turn it around with a bowl gouge. So I just need to kill my speed here. Start off slow, bring the speed up. And then 800 now. And all I want to do is get around. Okay, and I'm just going to take one very light cut like this, just to remove as many of the food too much as I can. Okay. Now I can hold it on this chuck and make a recess on the base. Now I'm just looking at this here. I have a bit of waste there, so I think I'll turn it the other way, and it'll be easier to get rid of that at the end. So I'll mark the centre, and for my chuck, I need a recess of 70 millimetres. Now the easiest way I have found to make that recess is with a square and scraper. But a square and scraper isn't actually straight. There's a slight curve in it, because to stop you from presenting the whole of the cutting edge at the one time to the wood, otherwise you're likely to get a catch. So the rule with scrapers is that the handle is up and the cutting edge is pointing down. This should be enough. Now my jaws are dovetailed, so I have this dovetail scraper. So I come in here and I dovetail it. Now I can reverse that onto the chuck I had originally. Now I need somewhere between 30 and 35 millimeters, so I just mark it there, and from there up is waste. So we just very quickly, as quick as we can, get rid of that waste. Bringing the speed up. Now the rest is slightly too high, so we'll drop it a small bit. Now I'm just going to go across the surface and clean it up. Got a bit of bounce there, so you're back to another light up. Now I need this will be the top surface, so I need this to be flat. That's flat. I have a few marks there, I can give them over the scraper. So for this I raise the rest again. Now, a while back, I talked about scrapers and ensuring that the handle is higher than the cutting edge. There's one case where you can break that rule, and it's here, working across the bed of the lathe. I can use the skew at a very, very low angle, and it gives a very, very fine cut, very, very fine finish. If you try this working parallel to the lathe, you'll get the mother of all catches. But it leaves the best surface. So I'm going to drop the tool rest, handle very low, start in the center, and you get a surface that practically doesn't need any sanding.
You just keep the skew just at center height and it's around the piece.
Well, no, I don't. I can't. I start off with the point on center, but then once I move away from the center, I can drop the handle more. So now I'm actually, when I finish up, I'm out here somewhere. So you don't have to be on center. See, I'm way above center now. Yeah.
Sorry, you've got a fork on that skew.
It's just personal preference. Like when you start off wood turning, you see all these things, you know, and you try them and you modify your tools. So I modify that, but it makes no difference. Whether it's straight or the curve, I think it'll work the same. Also, like a lot of the scrapers I have, I modify them to negative rake scrapers. But if I had the day back, I wouldn't. Once you modify to negative rake, you can't go back without wasting a huge amount of the tool, so you just leave it as negative rake. So now I need to use a bit of decoration here in the top corner. So for that, I come down 10 millimeters, and I come in here 6 millimeters. And the reason for those measurements is because I have to catch this in those jaws again at the end. So this is a case where the jaws decide what you can do. So they're all the same, there's two beads. So I rough the beads out first with a square and scraper. Just block them out. Or so with a square and scraper or the scraper, it doesn't matter. So I need to raise this again. Then I use a spindle gouge to round them over to create the beads. Now we're on to sanding. I need to do a small bit of sanding. I need to sand and finish this at this stage because I can't go back to it afterwards. So I'm just going to go 180 and 240. And I'll slow the speed down. Now I'm going to go back to the spindle gouge, and I'm just going to clean up the base here, just to establish exactly where the base will, just get rid of that roughness, and get into solid wood, so I know where my base will start. And then I make a quarter cove there, just to raise it slightly from whatever it's sitting at. I'm just going to give that a touch with 240. Now, the finish I put on most of these is sanding sealer and wax. I've got a few small marks there, but we're not going to worry about them. You put the sanding sealer on before the wax to seal the wood, so that the wood doesn't dry the oils out of the wax. And if that happens, the wax will go dull. So we're putting the sealer on first. The wax lasts longer, or the sheen on the surface lasts longer. This is cellulose sanding sealer, diluted with 50% thinners. If anybody has any questions, just feel free to ask at any stage. Now the excess I just wipe off with a piece of kitchen towel. This dries very, very fast, so that's dry now already. So now I just buff it off. Denib it, and then it's ready for the wax. I don't have any particular brand of wax that I prefer to use. They're all more or less the same. So if I try several different ones, and I don't see any major differences.
Just these like again.
That one is Hampshire Sheen, so it's whatever concoction they have. Exactly. So let me just buff that off. Now with some of these waxes, if you put out too much wax in corners like that or in V-grooves, it can accumulate, and when it dries, it leaves a white residue. So you have to be careful to make sure you wipe off the excess on all the surface. Next thing I need to do is get the center point. Now I can remove that from the lathe. So now I need to mark it out to do the off-center piece. So I have two choices. I need to line the grain up either this way or this way. So if I look at that piece, I have more pattern here, nicer grain here. So I'll make that the front. So that will be where the bowl will be, and this will be where the stem will be. So, going through the center point, I draw a line here and here at the back. To mark out the bowl, I come in from this edge 10 millimeters. That's okay on the camera there, is it? Yeah, okay. 10 millimeters. The diameter of the bowl section is 95. So I have this set for around 47, 48. So I put one point on that, there. Then the other point is there. So now that's my center for the bowl. And because I have this waxed already, a pencil won't mark it. So I use this to mark it as well. Now, because that will be the center of my bowl, I will have around 15 or 16 millimeters there, so I can use a screw chuck to hold it in that point. So now I need to make the hole for the screw chuck. For my screw chuck, I think it's an 8.5 millimeter bit or a 9 millimeter bit. So, and I'm going to make the hole 13 millimeters. So I've made the stopper for the bit, so I can only go into 13 millimeters. Now normally, if I was at home, I would do this on the pillar drill. So you need to hold it, keep it as straight as you can, on a slow speed. You don't want the drill in reverse. So now onto the screw chuck. Okay, and I need to mark my new center on this face. Now I need to make a second recess for the off-center bowl. So and what I'll do is I'll make this recess 3 or 4 millimeters deeper than the other one. So we're back to the square and scraper. Raise this small bit. Okay. Clean it up. And again, dovetail it. Now I can reverse it onto that recess. There you can see the two recesses. Okay, now we make the bolt section. Now, if I was making the earring one, I'd come in here and I'd start making a bow from this side, and then I'd come from this side, and I'd leave the piece in the middle, and that would be where I would put the stem for the rings. If I was making the wine bottle one, I'd take as much as I could out with the gouge, and then I'd finish with the square and scraper. And this one is just a regular bow. The rest of the tiny below. When I get near the centre, I take back the cuts, and I need to stay going until I have all remnants of the drill hole removed. It's pretty good. So now I need to make the bead around the surface there. So the easiest, I've tried several different ways of making this, but the easiest one I found is with the spindle gouge. So you line up the bevel, come back, go forward, and then where you want to start the bead, just go in. And push in, and then just three-handle all the way around. And then come from the other side to create the bead. Just need to clean up in that groove there, small bit. Now we're ready for sanding. This time we're going to start with 120. And I have to be very careful here because this surface is finished. So if I touch it with sandpaper, I leave scratches. And I'm back to square one. $180 and $2. Just as we slow down, there's a mark there. Sanding sealer and wax. Wipe off the excess and try it out. Renip it. Okay, now I need to finish off the bottom. I need to swap jaws here. Oh, sorry, swap jaws. this time I have to be careful that I don't over tighten this, because otherwise I'd mark it. The other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up the tailstock just for safety, but I don't want to put another mark in the center, because otherwise I'd have to remove more material to remove that mark. So I'm just going to put a bit of sandpaper there. Well, I'm taking the bulk of the material away. Can you increase the speed a bit? So the first thing I want to do is establish the base here on the outside. And then once I have that done, I start removing the material from the inside. Now I can remove that piece of sandpaper. And finish the sandpaper. Now that's ready for sanding and sealing and waxing, but I don't want to bore you with all that. I can do that at home. Okay so far? Now, I need to make the hole for the stem. So what I do is I measure what I've left there, and I have 28 millimeters. So 14 is half. So I put a mark there. And that will be the center point for the stem. Just going to mark into the awl. Now I can drill that hole. I use the same drill bit and the same depth. And again, if I was doing this at home, I do this on the pillar drill. Because it's important that this hole is drilled straight, otherwise your stem might be slightly off. Okay, the next bit we'll make is the key holder piece. So for this I need a piece around 100 millimeters diameter and around 25 millimeters thickness. I have the center point marked from when I drew the circle on it. So I'm going to make a spigot. So for this chuck, the spigot is 50 millimeters. So I can mark that now before I put it on. And I start off the same way as I do with the last piece. I jam it between the chuck and the tailstock. And again, with the dovetail scraper, I'll create the dovetail for the truck. Now I can reverse it onto the spigot. Get the edge round. Do you want to stop it? No? Okay, good.
I don't want to disturb you.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay, 2 wrists in the low. Again, just remove some toolmark. I have to clean up this face. So it's pretty flat already, so I don't need to use a gouge on it. So I'll just go in with the scraper, 1 or 2 passes, and then I'll use the screw like I did before for the final cut. Just move this back out of the way. Okay, still have a bit there to remove. Okay, now I need to mark it out for the area where the holes go for the keys. So, the overall diameter, or sorry, the overall height, and that part of it is 16 millimeters. So I go in here, 16 millimeters, and from there up, most of that will be waste. To make the beads, I use a beading tool. So first thing I do is I put a pencil mark here where the 2 beads will be. And then as I'm cutting the bead, I go in and I move the tool from side to side and I go slowly. And I stop before I lose that pencil mark. And the same here. If I go too far, I'll break out the top of the bead. Okay. Next job is to clean up the area between the beads and recess it. So I use a parting tool for that. And I just remove some waste here. Now, I'm going to be wasting some of this, okay? Because there's a piece cut off the back. So I want to keep the nicest grain for the front. So for me, this looks nicer. So I'm going to put a mark in the center. And then I'm going to draw a line across the center. And that gives me a point there.
Pat Horgan, our demonstrator for the June monthly guild meeting, is a valued member of the Limerick and District Chapter. Having been involved in wood turning since 2008, Pat is a highly skilled turner and an exceptional demonstrator. In this session, Pat will be showcasing the creation of a key holder with a loose change bowl. Enjoy the demonstration.
On that point. Now see, I lined it up with the grain horizontal. It has moved slightly now, so I need to move this back a small bit so that the grain is horizontal again, and I can start marking the other points. Okay, now, so now, this is 24, so I need every third hole. So, we go like that. And if I haven't made a mistake, this should line up with this, which it does. So the next thing I need to do is draw a line on the center of that area there. And now I can mark the positions of the holes for the hooks. Okay. Next thing is to drill the holes for the hooks, so it's 3mm bit. Oh, but I can do this. These are the hooks that I use, so if I just pass it around there, you can see what they are. I just get them with the local hardware store. And again, try and drill these as straight as you can. Now the next thing is to remove those pencil marks and clean up that area. So I go back to the parting tool. And now I use it like a skew to try and get the best surface that I can get. Just go from side to side. And I can use the corner of the tool to clean up the inside of those beads. And now we're on to sanding. Only I don't remember if I told you enough, but the holes for the hooks is 3 millimeters.
After you saying when you the beading tool that one, did you say you don't go all the way down to the pencil mark with the beading tool?
Correct. You leave the top of it.
Yeah.
If you round it over completely, it breaks out at the top. So what you do is you leave a tiny little flat, and then you round that over with sandpaper. It's so small you don't notice it.
Yeah.
Now I need to drill a hole all the way through this, and again it's the same size as the holes I drilled already. So 9 millimeters. So you slow down the speed for drilling. Sanding sealer and wax. Swipe up the excess and right in. You know it? Pat, watch. Pat, can we do the tea break in maybe 5 minutes? Is it okay with you? Because I'll finish this piece and then I just the last piece to do. Yeah. Okay, we'll get this piece finished up. Now, I need to reverse this onto the screw chop to finish the top side of it. Now you see that's running slightly out through, but I can get it running through by putting on the tailstock. I'll bring up the tailstock. just remove a small bit of this here. Okay. Now here is 16. The overall height that I need is around 19. So from here down his waist. Come back a bit, come back up. So here on the edge, I come back to the top of that piece. And once you get it running through, it's, even when you remove the tailstock, it still stays running through. Now the next measurement I need is 21 millimeters for the center piece here. And now I just make a curve between this point and this point. Move this out of the way. And I blend those two parts together. The top piece here, I'm going to slightly slope it inwards so that the finial piece fits flush on top of it. Now that surface is pretty good, but when we're around no scraper, I can get that curve better. So this is one of the scrapers I modified to make it negative rate. You don't want to see me sanding and putting on sealer and wax again. Okay, so once that's waxed, take it off. And where I have the holes, I just put a mark here on the back side. Sorry, on the top side. Now we'll be cutting this in the bandsaw, so I need to mark where the cut is. So measure down here 15 millimeters. And the same here. Then we draw a line across those two points. Okay? Then we take it to the magic bandsaw. And it comes back like this. So now this surface needs to be cleaned up. So what I do, I put a piece of sandpaper on the lid, bed of the lathe, and I just work it back and forth. Just get rid of all the marks from the bandsaw. Then you stay sanding, with sanding sealer and wax on that, and when you come back after your coffee break, I'll pass it around. You don't want to see me putting on wax in that. Okay, so now we're ready to put the hooks in. A few things I learned about these guys is it's very easy to break them. So when you're putting them in, if you over tighten them, they snap. But they snap in here. So the piece that is snapped off, you can't get out of the hole. So the piece is destroyed. So you have to be careful. The other thing I discovered was by putting a little bit of wax on it, and this is an old carpenter's trick, you know, but it works incredibly well. Putting a bit of wax on it makes it incredibly easy to get the hook in. And then, when it's nearly lined up, I use the awl to straighten it. Brilliant, that's that piece finished. So we can pass it on if you want to see it. Now we're up to the stem and the finial. So for that, I have a blank, roughly 30 by 30 and 180 long. So we put it between centers. And we get it around. So I'm left-handed, so I work right to left. So the way I always piece it down is I use scooping cuts. And this like a plain cut, this is cut. Now I need to make a spigot so I can hold it in the tub. Okay, and now I can reverse it onto the tub. So for small items like this, I use this small chuck. And we'll center it with the tailstop. Just tighten everything down. Okay, so now the hole I drilled here is 13 millimeters. So I need to make a tenor to fit into that hole. So I'll make the tenor around 10 or 11 millimeters. I'll leave myself a bit of space at the bottom. And I'll use the verniers to get the diameter from the hole, and then I'll use that to size the tenor. Okay. Now, just a safety note, I have rounded the corners of this over. If you leave them sharp, you can get a catch and this can fly back. One second, Brad.
Did you use that tape just around over those calibers, or how do you use just around over the edges?
Right, I think if I remember correctly, I put it on a grinder or a sanding pad on the drill. It's very slight.
Yeah.
I don't know if the camera will pick it up there or not.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
You can see it there now, yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Always refer to see that.
yeah. Now the maximum diameter I need is near the bottom. I'll take it out of just a second. You started packing up too soon. The maximum diameter is this point here. That's 25. So I can mark that 25 next, and I can take all the diameter down to that. So I'm going to increase my speed. Now, the distance from the base to the top of the key holder is 115 millimeters. Get that mark? Then I allow myself around 17 or 18 millimeter for the piece that will be in the middle of the key holder, and then at the top I need around 30 for the top finial. The other dimension I need is 20 up from the bottom here, and that's that point there, where that comes in. So now I'm ready to start shaping. So I start by taking this down here, but I'm not going to take it all the way. Just remove some weight. And I'm not going to go on in. Now we start shaping. So I start here with a quarter cove at the base. And then another cove coming in here. I start rounding this. Remove some of that waste. Put a fillet here. And then complete this cove section. Now I start producing. I don't need that diameter there, so I can take that down. And I do the same here. I put a quarter coat or a half coat. And then I start shaping this down. And now basically I need to make a shape between this point here and this point here. And I do that until there's pretty nothing out. And I just blend those two curves together. And now that's ready for sanding. Just looking at it, it's still a bit thick at that point there, so I'm going to take it down more slowly. Looks a bit better. Now we're working this on the fluid. This is the same. I don't need all that diameter there, so we can take that down. I think a bit more into the center here as well. Same thing, half the code there. And then I come into this very small code here. All this way. Now I just start shaping the top. Put it there again. Good job. Take this down. Now, before I go any further, I'm just going to check to make sure that this fits. But before I do that, one other thing I do. This surface in here, I make it concave. It's for two reasons. One is so that when this is sitting on that, it's only sitting on the edge. And secondly, when I glue it in, if there's any small bit of glue squeeze out, it has somewhere to go. Okay, that's perfect. So next thing is to take this down to the proper diameter. So we'll measure it up here again. And now I'm using the vernier to support it as I'm cutting it. And I'm going very slow. And the same thing there, and I'm going with the small screw and concave both of those surfaces in that. Now the next thing is to cut this in the middle. I'm not going to sand and finish it. I won't bore you again. So we cut this in the middle. And now I can reverse this in the chuck and finish the top of it. And I have the center mark here from before, so I can line it up properly. Sometimes I find if you don't have it marked here and you put it back in this chuck, it's slightly off. Okay. So we'll just remove as much of this weight. And I want you to break off slightly away from the finished surface. So Dave, I can go with the glove and just finish that. And that should be that. So one other important thing, I'll just show you that. Sorry. When you're gluing it together, you need to line it up, you need to eyeball it, so that the middle hook is lined up with the middle here in front. Otherwise, it'll stick out like the old proverbial sore thumb. So that's it, folks. Thanks very much.
When you glue that together, then do you put a cap on that?
No.
No, just
No, yeah.
Just,
Yes.
hand pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much, Pat.